difficulty that autistics have is because of the inconsistent brain connectivity, we can't adapt quickly to change. We have to have the time to think about it, and then we can adapt. So one of the strategies, of course, I learned very early on was, let me think about it. Buy myself some time, because initially my reaction to anybody suggesting anything that was out of the ordinary was no. Then I learned, okay, let me think about it. Because if you gave me time to think about it, I could think of a way that I, using my brain the way it is, could adapt.
Hi, I'm Staci Neustadt. I am a speech language pathologist and the CEO at Making Sense of Autism, and I'm a student of Susan.
And I'm Susan Golubock. I am a now retired occupational therapist who has worked many, many years after I discovered even my own autism with other autistic individuals. I founded Making Sense of Autism because of my passion to not only understand my brain and how it worked differently, but to try to explain what I've learned to other people so that they're more understanding and therefore more accepting and more accommodating to autistic individuals.
So, our goal is to help you provide the right support without trying to fix autism, but by understanding it. So, whether you're a parent, teacher, therapist, or just someone who wants to learn, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and join us every week. We talk about a new topic. So I know I have done this where I've gone to a webinar or a conference and left feeling so excited to try the new approach or intervention that I learned about. And then I either would go to the school I was working at or introduce it to a parent. And I was really excited, but sometimes I was met with confusion, hesitation, and sometimes just flat out resistance when I brought it back to the team I was working with. So, thinking about that, what if I told you it's not just about the strategy, but about a deep human need for predictability? Since Susan's introduced me to the neurostrength-based support for autism framework, I've been working alongside her to help parents and professionals shift or change from trying to fix autistic individuals to truly understanding them. And I'll be honest, I love change. I love learning new things, trying new approaches, seeing that ripple effect of when people start to get it. But I've also learned that something really important, change isn't for everyone. For some, change feels like freedom, and for others, it feels like chaos. And for many autistic individuals, change can activate a full nervous system response because predictability isn't just a preference, it's a lifeline. So that's where these tensions and polarities come in, where these are natural tensions between opposing but equally important needs like stability and flexibility, structure and spontaneity. And if we ignore these tensions, we either force change or avoid it. But when we learn to honor both sides of this change and polarity, we can support change in a way that feels safe, not scary. So, Sue, from your perspective as an autistic retired OT and someone who's experienced the pressure to change in ways that don't always feel right, what helped you lean into change to becoming your authentic self while still honoring your need for stability?
Well, like you, Staci, there are times when I welcome change because it's new, it's novel, but I also have to be able to predict how it's going to impact on me. Because If I'm unprepared, I can be overwhelmed. It's more than I thought, less than I thought. It's not what I thought. And the the difficulty that autistics have is because of the inconsistent brain connectivity, we can't adapt quickly to change. We have to have the time to think about it, and then we can adapt. So one of the strategies, of course, I learned very early on was, let me think about it, buy myself some time, because initially my reaction to anybody suggesting anything that was out of the ordinary was no. Then I learned, okay, let me think about it. Because if you gave me time to think about it, I could think of a way that I, using my brain the way it is, could adapt. And then I was willing to say, yeah, let's give it a try. But if you didn't give me that time, I had to make a decision and act on it right then. Definitely my answer is going to be a firm no. So what I've come up with as a solution to suggest to people when they want to see the autistic individual be a little more flexible in their thinking is what I call flexible teaching and flexible predictability. So if you're teaching us something, and this is the unfortunate part with a lot of the way autistics are taught, they're taught with repetition, the same thing in the same way each time, using the same words, and then the autistic brain thinks, this is the way it is. This is the way it has to be. And where do you think we get our inflexibility from? You teach us in inflexible ways. So then when someone does it wrong, i.e., not the way I learned it, then, of course, as an autistic, I'm going to be upset and call it as you're wrong. So when people use words in the wrong way, other than the way I learned them, and that's the way they're supposed to be, then I get upset. And yet, it's because that's how I was taught. So flexible teaching means you don't always do it exactly or use exactly the same words every single time. Repetition is important. And this is where the predictability comes in. You let them know in advance. Oh, well, we're going to do this same thing, but this time we're going to use the color yellow instead of the orange blocks. Or we're going to do, there's always one little thing that's different, but they're going to get the same result. So that they see it doesn't really matter sometimes in the process how it's done, as long as they get the end result. And that's what's important.
And it's such a, I mean, this is a soft skill of like being able to be flexible and accommodate in those moments. And I know some people are probably thinking, well, things happen and we don't have time to prepare, whatnot. But I can say that when you teach this skill of flexibility during times where you can allow them to process or you can provide predictable change, those times that are unpredictable are more manageable because they're like, oh, I've done this before, right? Is that?
And that's where when things change and need to be dealt with on a quicker basis, that's when you pull in problem solving. Oops, we have a problem. We need to deal with it right now. We don't have time to think, but let me think it through with you. That's what problem solving is all. Okay, here's the problem. Here's some possible solutions. Here's what I would probably pick because I've had experience and I know what's going to happen as a result, but you can try one of the other ones if you want to. But see, now you're giving them choices and options. They can either follow your lead to say, yeah, let's do it your way. and they'll see it works out. But eventually, when they're calm enough, they will look at those options and say, well, no, wait a minute, this one appeals to me more. I think I could do that one better than that way. But see, they're going to shift instead of the emotional part of the brain of reacting to, oh my God, the problem. What are we going to do? I'm going to freeze. Instead of the emotion, they go to the intellectual part of the brain, which is the master inhibitor. So it immediately calms you down when you go to the problem solving part of the brain and you think, which is what I would hope most people would do when they react to things emotionally and then later go and think about it and realize, ooh, that was not the best solution to that problem.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to teach our autistic kids is that when there's a problem, getting emotional about it doesn't solve the problem. Shifting to thinking about it does.
And so you're sharing the autistic perspective and, change and what we sometimes observe with our clients or students. I want to bring this back to us therapists, us parents, who we are asking you to make a change, change from trying to fix to understanding. And think about even when I say that, what does that bring up with you? Does that bring, no, stop, like Sue said, no, I don't want change. I've been doing it this way for so many years. This feels comfortable to me. You can see how, wow, that's how your autistic individual is feeling. It's the same thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where we sit. So as Sue just mentioned, we provide that predictability. And really, that's what Sue and I are trying to do here with this education, with our courses, with our weekly content we put out is we're trying to provide that stability, that predictability for you to help you problem solve when problems arise, which they will. You have a client or a student that does something, and you're like, whoa, this isn't working. We problem solve. Okay, what have we tried? What should we try next? So no matter where you fall on that change spectrum, whether you thrive on it or you resist it, your first step is to notice that tension. Just like Sue talked about, if somebody talked about change, it's no. When you introduce a change to your client, your student, your child, and they're like, no, or they have a meltdown, that's that tension. So thinking about, okay, what feels opposite right now? Is it because there was no predictability? So maybe it's the way you were taught in school versus shifting to now seeing others making this shift with neurodiversity. Maybe it's your comfort of doing things one way, even though you're starting to feel like it's not working or it feels icky, and you want to shift to neuro-affirming supports. We want you to really ask yourself, what's the stability I need to hold on to, and what's the growth I want to make room for? And we hope you continue to come back every week and watch these videos as we continue to provide just different insights, different strategies, like the problem solving that Sue has mentioned, which is one of our freebies on our website. So change becomes possible when we stop thinking in terms of that either or, we have to be this way or this way. And we kind of start embracing the both and. We can have compassion and boundaries. We can hang on to some of the old ways we did things, but also shift to the new ways when they aren't meeting the needs of our clients anymore. So heavy thought today on kind of how to shift, but you'll start to feel some of that tension kind of go away when you start to see both sides of it. So thank you for your insight today, Sue.
And thank you for asking, Staci.